Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Scythe and discuss my favorite mechanics in the board game. This is not a rules overview or a rules teach. We're just going to highlight the game mechanics in Scythe that I find very enjoyable and talk about some of the reasons why it gets to the table so often. So a quick overview is Scythe looks on the surface to be a dudes on a map style battle skirmish game, but it's really actually an action efficiency engine racing game because in any given game of Scythe, I believe there's like 9 or 10 different objectives that you can try to satisfy, and once you've completed those objectives, you'll place a star on it showing that you've completed it, and the first person to place all 6 of their stars on that section of the game board will trigger the end of the game. And then you'll score points based on your stars placed, areas that you control, and resources that you have at the end of the game, multiplied by a multiplier depending on where your popularity ends on the popularity track. And so that, in a nutshell, is the core structure of the game. And I'm going to focus on the modular player boards today because I think that puzzle that you get set up with is so cool. And so we'll start with the bottom portion of the board, or this part of the board. I don't know, I usually will play with the game top bottom, so I traditionally know the bigger board as the bottom. I don't know what that is in the rules, but as you can see, each board is broken into 4 different sections where there's a dividing line. And so all of the player boards, which in the base game there are 5, have the same bottom actions associated to them, and the top 4 actions, while the same, are located in a different place. And how the core loop of the game works is at the first start of the game, you'll place your pawn onto the player board somewhere and take that action. And when it comes back to being your turn, after everyone else has taken a turn, you move this pawn to one of the 3 spaces that's not currently on to take that action, rinse and repeat. And so at any given time, you'll not be able to take the action you just took previously, and your decision will be to move it into one of 3 places. And I find that cool because it makes the turns quick, because there's not a lot of finickiness to adjusting and moving things. It's just move the pawn, take the action, is one of the reasons I like it. Also, if you look at the it's a dual layered player board, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it means it's just 2 layers of cardboard adhered together. And so at the start of the game, you'll have these cubes that start on the top section of the player board, covering certain bonuses. Along with that, you'll also have these buildings where you have the monument, the armory, the mine, I think it's the mine, yep, and the mill. So you'll start with your player board seated with all these wooden pieces, as well as down at the bottom you'll have these discs covering 4 actions on the bottom. And so to explain more thoroughly, when you take the top action, I'll use a separate player board to use as my visual aid so I don't mess up all that hard work I just did. Not really hard work, but you'll take the top action and you will gain the benefit of what is in the green space, and then if you can afford to pay the red spaces in the bottom action, you'll be able to take that bonus action associated with it. And so at the start of the game, you'll have a lot of those green spaces on the top covered, and a lot more of the red spaces on the bottom action exposed, along with the 4 buildings covering here, and you have 4 enlist tokens on the bottom. And so all of these wooden pieces right now are covering a green benefit. And throughout the course of the game, as you take either the upgrade action, or you build buildings, or you enlist more recruits, you'll slowly be moving these cubes from the top section to to cover spaces in the bottom section that are red for the upgrade, you'll be removing these buildings and placing them out onto the main board, and then you'll be enlisting these recruits, moving them up into your top board section, covering a one-time bonus. But all of those different actions as you take them are slowly revealing some of those green benefits that started covered. And so as the game goes, you're making certain actions more and more powerful, in the sense that you can, for example, the move/gain action that we just removed a cube from, instead of moving 2 characters, we can now move 3. And while we moved that and placed the cube down here, what the building cost used to be 2 wood, we've covered, or 3 wood, we've covered 1, so now it only costs 2. And when we took that enlist action, we exposed this little benefit here that'll happen when anyone takes that enlist action. And so I'm not describing it very eloquently, but as you start taking more of these actions and upgrading and modifying your player board, the turn actions that you take get stronger and stronger. And so you couple that with this sensing pressure of tightness, because people are placing out these completed objective stars, makes the game feel very tense, and you feel powerful as the game goes, because you're able to take these more powerful and efficient actions, which is such a rewarding feeling that I enjoy every time I play Scythe. And so that would be cool on its own, but at the beginning of the game, each player will take control of a different character, and these top boards have a asymmetrical ability that will break the rule structure that the player who's taking control of them will get that benefit throughout the game. But there's also these 4 mech places that you'll start with all those mechs covering them, but there are even more powers that you can choose to unlock. And so because these are asymmetrical and the bottom boards are also asymmetrical, you'll be pairing and puzzling different, like matching 2 different boards every time, which will create this new efficiency puzzle for you to try or work through in the game. And I could go on because Scythe is one of my favorite games of all time. Shout out to my cousin Sally, who introduced us to the game, or tipped us off on it. But in a nutshell, those distinct 2 pieces of the player boards are what I find to be very intriguing about Scythe, and why I enjoy any time I get to bring it onto the table. A few other, I think, nods that I would give to Jamie are these encounter cards. So all the cards in the game feel like they were designed very well, in the sense that these encounter cards are hidden information that at the start of the game, the board is seeded with these little encounter symbols. And when you have your character step on one of them, you get some sort of benefit, but you don't know what it is. So that feeling of exploration and searching out and exploring the map, it pushes you to like kind of spread your units out and explore instead of bunch up so you don't get attacked. I think having the factory abilities, which the factory cards are when you get your character to the center of the board, you'll get to search through the deck, and there'll be a number set out based on the number of players +1, I think. And it will give you this unique action that extends your player board to have 5 actions instead of 4, which incentivizes everyone to kind of push towards the center, which is a cool way of not forcing engagement, but giving you an incentive to, again, spread out. And so both of those, I think, are designed very well for creating movement and engagement throughout the board. And then these starting objective cards that you'll get dealt 2 per game and be able to satisfy 1 are really great for onboarding to give a player something to focus on at the start of the game. Because even though the turns themselves are simple, the amount of information you have to process can sometimes be a lot. And so those starting objectives, coupled with these, I think they call them jumpstart cards. I don't know if I have them here. So the quick start suggestion cards give you a, like, what you should do for your first through 5th turn. So for new players, it's very helpful where you don't feel like paralyzed in terms of what to take for your first action because there's so much information that's overwhelming. So kind of rambled on a lot. As you can tell, Scythe is one of my favorite games. I'd love to hear in the comments below what your favorite mechanic is in Scythe. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and would love to engage with you in the comments below.